After the Second World War, people in Britain decided that they deserved better. While they were living in overcrowded, squalid homes, the wealthy were living in luxury. They demanded that the government treat everyone with dignity.
This inspired the building of 4.4 million new social homes between 1946 and 1980. Social housing is the only genuinely affordable form of housing because it charges a social rent determined by local incomes, whereas private rents are based on soaring house prices and far outstrip incomes.
Everyone, from teachers to nurses to mechanics, had a safe, comfortable home. As a result, they had enough time and money to spend looking after themselves and their families while planning for the future.
All political parties backed it. Social housing peaked under the Conservative government of the 1950s, when 250,000 new local authority homes were being built across the country every year. By 1970, 42% of us lived in social housing.
So what happened to the national belief that we all deserve a good quality, affordable home? The housing crisis is the result of decisions made by governments over the last 40 years. This shift is part of a trend sometimes referred to as neoliberalism.
Leaders like Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and President of the United States Ronald Reagan wanted governments to spend less on homes, schools and community services. They believed that money and power should be taken away from public bodies like councils and hospitals and given to private companies. In 1980, Margaret Thatcher introduced the Right to Buy scheme, which allowed renters in social housing to buy their homes at a heavily discounted rate and then sell them for maximum profit after 5 years. If Right to Buy was meant to turn us into a country of homeowners, it failed. Only better off social renters were able to afford to buy their council house, and soaring house prices from the 1980s onwards saw those who had bought their homes become wealthier.
It turned us into a nation of private renters. Private renting has now doubled since the scheme was introduced and now makes up more than half of all rental. This is partly because 4 in 10 homes sold through Right to Buy ended up in the private rental sector, and the government has stopped councils building more in their place.
Private renting is much more expensive than social housing, leaving many struggling to pay their rent and facing debt and destitution. And, unlike social housing, your private landlord can increase your rent or evict you at any time. As social housing became less of a priority for successive governments, less money went towards keeping those homes in a good state of repair. When whole neighbourhoods were made up of social renters who'd lived together for years and whose homes were run by the same council or housing association, people could act together.
But as public housing became private housing and renters on short-term tenancies moved in and out, this collective power became diminished. This financialisation of housing has meant that homes are considered assets to make money from, rather than safe places to call home.
The National Housing Federation found that as of 2020, there were 3.8 million people on council house waiting lists. Yet last year, the government only built 5,955 social homes in England. For the millions today who can't afford to buy a home or access social housing, the outlook is bleak. More than 274,000 people are homeless in England right now, including 126,000 children. People of colour have to wait longer on average than white people for social housing and are often offered poorer quality homes. People are raising their children and growing old with no hope of ever having a secure and affordable home.
But what if we built warm, safe, comfortable social homes that everyone could afford? After 2 years of a global pandemic, it's clear that everyone needs an affordable home where they can put down roots. Our homes are the foundation for building the life we want for ourselves and our families.
As people experience the terrifying realities of a cost of living squeeze and a climate emergency, more of us are unwilling to accept the cold, damp, unaffordable homes we live in. We need a new generation of social housing to kickstart the economy, create jobs, rebuild our communities, and provide homes for us. Whether you're homeless, a teacher, a delivery driver, or struggling with high rents, we need you.
Our movement has to be strong if we want to reverse the decline in public housing. The next chapter in the story of our homes has to be written by us.